Johnny Manziel will start for the Browns. This is always changing, following a 2-game benching for his off-the-field actions. This according to our Chris Mortensen. In his news conference yesterday, Mike Pettin didn't announce that he was the starter and said he couldn't absolutely say that everyone is on board 100%. The coach, Herm Edwards, is in the house with us to discuss. Herm, good to see you.
Well, it's good to be here.
As always.
I know we got a happy man over here to the right.
We do. Just a little fired up. I don't know if you saw the top of the show.
The train is leaving the station.
Hey, that bad man that Stephen A. always talks about, he's going to put you guys out your business.
He's already predicted that.
You
guys are both way out on the limb on that one. That's a gutsy call.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know.
It's going to happen.
It's okay.
That's all right.
It's okay.
Why? Just because we don't choose to sit there and regurgitate the same nonsensical stuff you spew at us daily about your Cowboys? Or not now it's like, oh, we really stepped out there on a limb about Aaron Rodgers? Please.
Yeah, could
just
you two
stop
help
it.
me out?
You gave up. You threw Castle to the out to the pasture
I did.
weeks ago.
I did.
You threw him out.
But help me out.
But you're back on now.
The last 2 games at Lambeau Field, let's see, the Bears and the Lions. What happened in those games? I don't know.
I have no recollection.
I don't
have no recollection.
No.
8 wins versus 4 wins.
Okay.
Just remember
We'll
that.
see.
8 versus 4. We'll see.
Could you all stay focused, please?
Yes.
All right,
Sorry.
Herm, it's okay. What is Johnny Manziel's NFL future?
We don't know. And I think if you're the Cleveland Browns, you have an obligation to find out, regardless of Johnny Manziel's antics off the field. I think going forward, if you're the head coach, you're the GM, as well as the owner, you've had 13 losing seasons in a row. And you have to look at this position of, is he the guy going forward? And the only way you're really, truly going to find out is allow him to play. And it's not like he's playing against some softball teams. I mean, obviously, San Francisco won last week on the road. You play the 49ers, you play Seattle, Kansas City, and the Steelers. You will get a true evaluation going forward. Is he your starting quarterback? And also this, if he is not your starting quarterback, the more you allow him to play, you may have a chance to trade him.
Good point.
He could end up in our friend's best backyard in Dallas.
I agree.
Wouldn't that be a
backup
treat?
for Tony Romo.
Of course that's going to happen.
Well,
of course that's going to happen.
Antonio
because
Romero.
one team is that's the one team that's more interested in winning headlines than games. Of course it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Of course it's going to
The
happen.
team that won at Washington last night. Go ahead.
So, I mean, you know, all that's a part of it,
Yeah.
and I think we know that. And I think for the fan base, if you sit there knowing you have home games, you want fans to obviously come out. They would come out to watch Johnny Manziel. They would come out to watch him play football.
But can he play football?
We're going to find out. I think he's much improved from last year. Is that good enough? We'll find out. I mean, we see Tyrod Taylor about the same height, about the same skill set, probably a little bit quicker footed, but it's played pretty well in an offense that allows him to use his ability to run and make plays. And so we're going to see. We're going to watch Johnny Manziel play.
Stephen A.
Well, I just think that when you look at Johnny Manziel, listen, for all the negatives that we throw in his direction, let's give him credit for it's several things. He acknowledged that he didn't work as hard as he could have in year 1. B, he, inserted himself into a rehabilitation clinic to address his issues. C, he comes out of it, and nobody in the Browns organization has denied that he's put forth the level of due diligence that he was supposed to, that he's gotten better, he's gotten more educated as to what the job description entails and what he should be doing. All of those things are true. And so when you look at it from that perspective, Johnny Manziel could potentially be on the come up. Now, if you talk to the Merrill Hodges of the world and others, they'll tell you he doesn't have a chance. He'll never really be a big-time quarterback in this game because fundamentally he is what he is and his instincts are what they are, and you never change a player's instincts. That's their belief. And Johnny Manziel has to overcome those skeptics because that's really what he's facing. Being in Dallas, he would be a backup. He'd be the quintessential backup to Tony Romo. But at some point in time, you need somebody that's going to be your quarterback. And is Johnny Manziel that guy? The only reason we're definitively saying he could be that guy for the Cowboys is because we all know he draw headlines, and we know that's what the Dallas Cowboys crave most. That's their addiction, hype, not substance, hype. But with that being said, Johnny Manziel still has a chance. I think the 49ers game is incredibly important because if he shows us a really, really good performance against San Francisco, then when he gets shellacked by the Kansas Cities of the world, the Pittsburghs of the world, and others, we'll look at him and we'll say, well, you know something? At least he did it against San Francisco. He can't stink up the joint for all Final Four games. He's got to show up against somebody, and this is his best opportunity.
Okay, back to me. I still believe in Johnny Manziel's future in this league on the field. I think he can be a starting, if not even a star quarterback. But I'm going to say this quickly and go on to the next point. If he doesn't get himself right off the field, he's got no shot future-wise in this league. And I'm still not sure he's right off the field. And I'm still not sure how to interpret as he turned 23 the other day. He posted an old picture of himself doing the money sign. I don't know if that's the old me he was referring to or if he's saying, I miss that me. I don't know what the message of it was, but whatever. The point is, I believe he will struggle mightily most of this way down this 4-game stretch. I agree with Stephen A. This is a bit, both of you. This is a big game for him against San Francisco as far as his future in Cleveland goes because Eric Mangini's defense is pretty good. It's had some moments this year. They've started coming alive. They did pull that game out at Chicago mostly because of a missed Chicago field goal. But the point is that Johnny's up against it with this. This is a 2-10 team that has very few weapons. They have no running back ranked in the top 32, and in just pure yards receiving, Travis Benjamin is 18th in the league, and Barnage is 20th in the league in yards receiving. So they got a couple of mediocre weapons, but not great ones. So what do you think's going to happen once he goes the rest of the games? You go at Seattle. What do you think's going to happen there? What do you think will happen back in your old stomping grounds in Kansas City? What do you think will happen? Not pretty. What do you think will happen at home against the Steelers in a game the Steelers may desperately need to make a wild card spot? Probably won't be that pretty, all things considered.
No, it won't be. And I think, you know, obviously, you look at it, you'd like to win football games, and this is your 2-10. You'd like to be better than 2-10. But I think it's a true evaluation of Johnny Manziel, along with the rest of the players that he's playing with. And you know that as a coaching staff now. You know, we'd like to win these games, but how will a quarterback play? Does he give us an opportunity to win games?
Okay.
Can we build around the guy?
Okay, which is why I hope that he struggles in all 4 games. I don't want him to stay in Cleveland, and I hope they just cut bait and say, we gave our fans what they wanted. We gave you Johnny, and he gave you nothing back. And I hope the fans say, that's enough of Johnny, and he's on the market in the offseason.
See, I use Tyrod Taylor as an example because this was a young man that basically had kind of been with the Ravens, kind of sat and waited his turn, didn't hear a lot about him, and all of a sudden, you know, he's in an offense now that's kind of, it sets his skill set. And you got a head coach that's okay with a guy with a little bit of what I call a wild card as a quarterback. You can't ask him to play in the pocket a whole lot, but he can do some of it. He has a nice long ball. He got some weapons. You know, he's got some good weapons around him. He makes a lot of plays with his feet. So am I saying Johnny Manziel is him? I don't know, but I'd like to see. I'd like to let him. The only way you're going to find is let him play.
Well, I would like to see Johnny with a Sammy Watkins. Just see, because, right? I mean,
well, yeah, but he's going to have to play. I think he's going to have to play the position of quarterback and let him compete. Go ahead, Stephen A.
It's interesting that you brought up Sammy Watkins, Skip, because I think the one thing that has gone unnoticed and pretty much unspoken about over this entire season is the absence of a guy by the name of Josh Gordon, who plays for the Cleveland Browns, but has been suspended for the entire season because of repeated failed drug tests. Skip, when this guy was on the field, you literally looked at him and said, that's Hall of Fame talent. That's how big time Josh Gordon was. Well, let's remember, that's who Johnny Manziel was supposed to be playing with.
It was.
He was supposed to be playing with Josh Gordon along with Kelvin Benjamin. And so the fact that you don't have much of a running game, okay, because you got Kroll that hasn't been doing anything. You don't have much of a passing game because outside of fly patterns, you don't know what you're getting from Kelvin Benjamin. And then there's no Josh Gordon. You don't really have much of an offense to begin with. As a quarterback, if we're going to point out whether it's Tony Romo and Matt Castle, whether it's Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady with LaFleur dropping passes, Cam Newton with Ted Ginn Jr. dropping passes, if we're going to point out how a quarterback is virtually nothing without individuals to catch his passes, how do we ignore that reality when it comes to Johnny Manziel? I understand that he's got some improvement to do. I understand he may never be what Skip's prognosticating he could be if he gets this off the field issues handled. But in the end, what it comes down to is that we need to focus a little bit more on the fact that the Cleveland Browns are devoid of talent at some key positions that would help a quarterback be successful.
Stephen A., I finally gave up on Josh Gordon. God bless him. I hope he gets it back together, but it's so ironic. Both he and the quarterback I thought that would hook up and make a great connection. They both got their issues.
This is why these guys have lost 13 double-digit seasons in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not by accident.
No.
And the sad part is that going into the season, you felt like, with all the players maybe being healthy, defensively, you thought these guys would be pretty good.
Well,
and
the one last point, Skip.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
The one last point, Skip and Coach, I'd like to make along with you, Molly, is this. We've got an NFL Players Association policy that seems to be a touch more lenient than they were in years past in terms of the number of tests you get to endure, potentially fail before you're suspended, et cetera, if I remember correctly, Coach.
Yes.
I'm saying a legitimate argument could be made. I don't want to be the bad guy here, but a legitimate argument could be made that that's going in the wrong direction. Because what happened is that level of patience allowed the Cleveland Browns to drag on the Josh Gordon saga a bit longer than customarily would be the case, and as a result, it's had them in these doldrums a bit longer than any of us would like. Maybe if you were a bit more hardcore with your policy and less tolerant, at least you could expedite the process of figuring out what the Josh Gordon or others are were. And I'm rooting for Josh Gordon to come back and get himself together and be back on that football field. I actually like the guy, but in the end, if you're a bit hardcore with it, maybe you expedite the process of deciphering whether this guy is finished or this guy is going to be here, which will facilitate your organization moving in the right direction in a speedier fashion.
Well, that's facilitated for a couple of reasons. One is because the league is nervous about making sure the stars play. Okay? You become harder, and all of a sudden there's going to be some stars not playing, and that's never good for your fan base. And you know that too, Stephen A.
Football's a team sport. There's 53 guys out there.
But you know
I understand
that. Stars.
I know what you're saying. I'm just saying if you suspend the guys eventually anyway, why waste time giving them additional chances? You're going to get rid of them, get rid of them.
I agree.
But we do know regarding Johnny, to your point, Herm, these next 4 games are an audition for the Browns, the Cowboys, and other teams.
Absolutely.
For sure. So I'm glad we're going to get to see him on the field.
It's going to be fun. I mean, we're all excited about watching the guy play.
No question.
It's going to be fun. Let's see.
Let's talk about something that was real fun for Skip Bayless last night. Did
How about
the
them
Cowboys win it, or did the Redskins lose it? Herm, you're not going anywhere. You're staying put for this conversation when we come back.
Yeah, they tried hard.